There she stood. 500 adversaries stood in front of her and her alone. It wasn't as if those behind the village walls were afraid or didn't want to stand beside her and defend their home. It's that she wouldn't let them, and one dared not defy a being in such absolute power. So there she stood, alone. There was no fear, no anxiousness, and no emotion on her face as she stood defiant against the small army that was set to charge. Instead, there was a quiet confidence about her, as though facing 500 foes was a simple chore like taking out the trash or walking a dog. And to Sloan, it was as simple as that. She found no pleasure in battle. Not anymore. Rain was in disbelief. Drunk off the successful conquest of other villages throughout the area, he couldn't believe all that stood between his army and this village was a single woman armed with only a bow staff. Rain's forces had fought in dozens of battles and were experienced. Normally he would have already given the command to charge, but the expression on that woman's face made him hesitate. He himself had been in countless fights and dozens of battles, but he had never seen an expression so peaceful and so sure on the battlefield. It made him uneasy. "General," his second in command called out for his attention. "What are your orders?" Rain shook his head, trying to shake the spell the woman's presence had put him under. Something inside him told him to order a retreat. Something was off about this whole situation. But how would his men view him then? A man with an army of 500 retreating at the mere sight of one woman with a bow staff. The thought was almost laughable. Almost. Rain still felt uneasy, but he reluctantly gave the order. Charge. There was something profoundly beautiful about the way Sloan carried herself. Even while the army charged her with every intent of running her over and charging the village walls, she didn't falter. Her peaceful expression remained. She simply let out a sigh and began. Sloan leaped 60 feet into the air while removing her bow staff from its harness and crossing the battlefield. The army stopped their charge and stood in disbelief as they watched her soar into the air and into their ranks. As she landed in the middle of the army's forces, she slammed her staff into the ground, causing a pulse to ring out around her, blowing back anyone and anything in the vicinity. Rain's heart sank. He knew he should have trusted his intuition. It had kept him alive so far. But instead, pride had triumphed. So there he stood, watching his army getting decimated by this deity of a woman. He removed his helmet and sword and set them beside him as he watched this beautiful force of nature tear through his forces. Those poor souls, they stood no chance. No amount of training could prepare them for this. After all, there's no fighting nature. Rain began to shed a tear. Not because he was about to meet his demise, but because the way this woman moved, evaded, and struck seemed to be a form of fluid poetry. It was too beautiful to put into words. Finally, the woman approached him. Rain knew it was his time. He got on his knees and lowered his head in acceptance, ready to receive his sentence. And with a swift strike from her staff, she delivered it.